Welcome everybody. So great to have you on our Monday night call for intermittent fasting and how that complements Plexus. And I just want to welcome to our call all of you for taking the time out to come on to the call tonight. I know it's a little bit later here in Atlantic Canada. We're at 9 o'clock, but just welcome to everybody who was able to get onto the call, and most welcome to Ricky. She is going to probably share a little bit more about all the details of things that she's been up to. And she is a New Vision master practitioner, and she's going to explain that a little bit more. So, but I want to let Ricky just kind of take her time and maybe share how you got involved in Plexus. Ricky, I have seen your video, What is Plexus, which if you have not seen that, you guys hop over to the Plexus Worldwide YouTube and What is Plexus. Ricky does have a beautiful story there of how she got started in Plexus, and it's a great one to share too if you see where it resonates with somebody else. I love those What is Plexus little short videos. So Ricky, why don't you just take it away and share a little bit about who you are and why you joined Plexus, and then really dig deep into intermittent fasting.
Awesome. Yeah. So I've been in health and wellness for almost 15 years, and I'm the most extreme person I know. It's totally my passion. It's what I love. So when I say extreme, I have 7 kids, and none of them have ever had a med in their body at all, nothing over the counter, with the exception of one broken arm, and she had to have an injection to have it reset. I just love all things holistic. We have healed so many things on our own. It's what I love. It was what I was called to do. And now, if you've seen my Plexus video, this started because my son, who's almost 15, that's why I say almost 15 years ago, had a very severe reaction to his 2-month vaccination. I'm just going to share with you guys that I grew up like on Oreos and like Prego and Hamburger Helper. Like, we did not cook from scratch. Thank goodness I was an athlete. That's the only way that I stayed in shape. But when this happened to my son almost 15 years ago, it was horrific, number one, but number two, it was amazing because it was a wake-up call. And from that moment on, I took my family's health into my hands. And when we did this, of course, along the way, praying for lots of wisdom, James 1:5 was what I clung to, which was, ask for wisdom, it will be given to you abundantly. I claimed that, and I've claimed it ever since. And so we have done really well with that. And my children are thriving. I'm thriving. And so part of that is kind of crazy. I did have a med when I had natural and home births. And then I had this crazy C-section, which is my 5th child, is a C-section. And it was a surprise C-section. And that, because I had not had a med in my body in 10 years, wrecked my gut. And it was just, I was so inflamed and such a mess after that, I, about a year, well, actually it was 10 months in, I started the Plexus products. And although I tried juicing and all kinds of other things in that 10 months, nothing gave me this crazy relief that I saw on Plexus within, 2 weeks in. I was noticing a huge, huge, huge difference. So along with that, I mean, that's a very short version, but I was blown away because I'm telling you guys, I was already extreme. I had already been an ambassador for 2 years. And when I say I've been an ambassador, I just kept the products in stock to give away, like legit give away. Because I keep all kinds of herbs and stuff. People just knew they would come to my house. I'd give them what they needed. It was just sort of my love language to help heal people, empower people. And I just gave them away because I really didn't need them, right? I never needed them until this happened. And wow, when I started taking them, it was shocking how I couldn't believe it. So I started researching all the ingredients. And after researching all the ingredients, yeah, blown away. And I see now all the ingredients work synergistically together. Absolutely incredible for the masses, right? These products worked for the masses. So accidentally, I grew a business by just continuing to share these. People signed up and bought under me instead of me just giving them all away, which is kind of funny. But when we get into why Plexus works with intermittent fasting, is because intermittent fasting is very similar to Plexus in that, what do we tell people with Plexus, right? That there are three main ways that it works. It makes your body very sensitive to its insulin, which, let me say this, if there's one thing that you have to remember, it is that insulin is the key to health, period. It is the key to healthy weight. It is the key to living a long, healthy life, being sensitive to your insulin, okay? There was a study done on all these various groups and tribes of people around the world. The people that lived the longest, they had the longest lifespan. One thing they all had in common, the only thing they had in common, diets were all different. Their activity levels were different. They lived in different places. The one thing they had in common was that they were all very sensitive to their insulin. Okay, it's just huge. And it has become so bad in the States for a few reasons. And I'll work my way back to that. But so the first thing we tell people with Plexus, it helps your body become sensitive to its insulin. And then we're working on our gut health, right? Because our gut is our second brain. That's where we absorb all of our nutrients. And then third, a good detox, right? You've got to get the junk and the toxins and the chemicals out. Well, those three things are pretty much exactly what intermittent fasting does as well. So when you combine Plexus with intermittent fasting, you have a really great tool to heal, give your body a chance to heal from whatever it needs to heal from, to help drop weight, to get max absorption, to get pregnant, like whatever it is that you're trying to do, you can find it most of the time if you combine those two things. Remember, insulin is our master hormone, right? Speaks to all of our other hormones. So if your insulin is shouting all the time because your body is not sensitive to it, that's what happens. It's kind of like if your toddler were in the room with you and they turn the music on and they turn it up a little more and then a little more, you don't even realize how loud it is, but your husband will walk in and be like, why is it so loud in here? And you're like, I don't even realize it, just slowly, the noise. That's what happens with our bodies because it does a little insulin. Well, then, and for us, for Americans in particular, or Canadians, all of us, it's that we're eating too much. And now I'm not just saying we're eating too much, but we're starving nutritionally, right? What I mean when I say we're eating too much is too many hours. The old Chinese proverb of eat half, walk twice, laugh three times as much, like this is the key to good health. The reason people sometimes mess that up is they think they're going to starve, so they start cutting calories, which is not what we're doing here. That proverb means more, stop eating all the time. That's what our problem is. We're eating all the time. So a funny example I have of this is that, so she was telling me I'm a New Vision practitioner, which is kind of a funny thing. There's this really incredible software. It's very Nikola Tesla-ish. It's the technology very similar to that. And basically it scans you from afar and can hang on to your nutritional deficiencies, maybe if you have parasites or even a trauma in your background, all these different things. Okay, and so I do this for a client, and then we'll set something up for them, figure out how they need healing or whatever. But I have to share with you guys, this is so crazy because this blew me away, that I have this friend in Africa who is not getting sufficient food. I mean, he lives if you're thinking Africa, it's genuinely, he lives in a little village, does not have enough food, definitely has parasites, but his scans are better than 90% of the people that I scan in America. And the reason is because he's not eating. And I know that sounds horrible, but I'm just saying his is very easy to fix. Get him some good nutrition, and maybe some anti-parasites, right? But in America, we're eating ourselves to death. So not only are we eating all the time, which means we're releasing insulin all the time. Every time you eat, you're releasing insulin. So when you can shorten it, and that's terrible. I mean, he's starving, but if you can just remember that, oh my gosh, you wouldn't think that, right? You wouldn't think that a lot of us on this call would maybe have a worse scan than this poor starving guy in Africa, right? And that is part of the reason, because we are simply eating too much. Okay, so what that means is like I said earlier, every time you eat, you release insulin, right? So your body cannot become sensitive like it needs to if you're continuing to eat, which is the reason I've never agreed with the 6 meals a day and all of that. Going into that, if we're talking about like the how-tos of like how to get started on intermittent fasting, I will say, because a lot of people are not used to it, a lot of people think they can't. They're like, oh no, tried it. It was horrible. Did not work for me, whether I gained or they felt awful and wanted to, shoot someone by midday or whatever. It's because you didn't do it properly. You have to work your way into it. You have to, if you are used to eating at 8 in the morning, for a week, eat at 9. The next week, eat at 10. And especially if you're a woman, okay? What did I say earlier about insulin speaking to your other hormones, right? So all of your hormones are tied in this. Hormonally, you might be a bit of a wreck, even if you've been on Plexus a while, because you're still not eating like you're supposed to be eating, right? Like in a certain window. What happens during your fasting window is your body is getting the rest that it needs. So rarely do our bodies get that time to rest, recoup, digest, right? And then after we've digested, our body gets to work on, okay, what needs to be healed, what needs to be addressed, but you know what? That doesn't happen for a lot of people because they're constantly digesting all the time because they're always eating, right? Snack before bed, right when they wake up. So if you can learn to stop eating all the time and give your body that break, what's going to happen is not only is your digestion going to improve, but it's going to greatly enhance the way your products work, right? Because I can tell you one thing, like ProBio, for example, the enzymes that are in ProBio 5, they are intended to be taken before bed on an empty stomach. Because if you take ProBio in your food, those enzymes work more as digestive enzymes versus eating away the outer layer of the bad bacteria and being able to kill off the bad bacteria, right? So it works better on an empty stomach at night. BioCleanse can be similar in the way that it can get in there and scrub when you don't have as much in there, right? And then of course, same, the Slim, what it's pulling the toxins. Well, it's very difficult when Slim pulls toxins to be able to flush them out when you have all that backed up and you know what I mean? Like it's like you're walking around with 3 sacks and someone gives you another one and then you're walking and maybe you set one down. And so you still have 3 and you're walking, you're about to set another one down and someone brings you another one. And you're like, man, if you could just set them down for a minute, right? I mean, like just give your body a break so that it can do truly what it is intended to do. Again, reducing overall inflammation. This will work for most people, but if you feel like it's not working for you, it's because you didn't work your way in slowly. Possibly not drinking enough water would be another thing. But here's the other 2 big things. So my first one was slowly move into your window. I have 5 really basic tips for you guys on how to successfully fast or get started with fasting, and especially with your products, right? Number 2, do not starve yourself either. So during your window is not a time to be, number 2 and number 3 go together, starving or binging, okay? Do not starve, also do not binge. Because your body got that great rest, don't throw a huge meal on it. Unless, I mean, there are people who have been in fasting for a really long time and they end up doing like 24-hour fasts, or they live on the fasting of they literally just eat 1 big meal a day. And that works for their bodies as you progress into it, right? So, but to start and for a while, for a few months at least, for sure, never starve yourself. Never, never, never. Think nutrition over calories for sure. So count nutrition, not carbs, not calories, none of that, because diet does not matter. This is not, if you've seen my post, I'm not a big fan of keto. I'm not a big fan of low carb, and because of some of the hormonal impacts that it can have long term. Y'all can look that up. I have a pretty great, well researched and cited post on my blog if y'all want to check that out. Because I love fasting because you don't have a lot of restrictions. truly you should be able to enjoy life if you're eating God-made foods, right? Versus toxins and junk. That's the one thing that we count in our house is, it's rare that we'll eat toxins and junk, or that we allow that, but we absolutely do not count calories in any form, right? So just no starving, but don't binge. Okay, what goes along with that? If you guys have ever seen the show The Biggest Loser, what happens with these people, why they gain it back. And this is also a reason I'm not a fan of most diets, because you can do any diet and lose all the weight. You can do a juice fast, you can do keto, you can do carnivore, you can do vegan, whatever you want to do, you can do it and lose weight. It's keeping it off long term, because 90% of people gain it back. And not killing your metabolism in the process and wrecking your body hormonally. So intermittent fasting is so wonderful in that if you do it properly, that just won't happen. You don't have to restrict. You don't have to worry about things. So going back to The Biggest Loser example, these poor people, they have to continue to diminish their calories every week in order to just maintain this crazy weight loss that they've had, right? Along with adding more cardio every week. So they're crazy by the end of it. And of course they're nutritionally deplete, but they've wrecked their metabolism. So they're down to barely eating anything. They're running and moving all the time. And it's just not sustainable. Okay. So what you want is in your window, thinking nutritional, right? Get your nutritional needs met. And then one day, don't do it every day, especially if you're just starting. For a woman, 3 to 4 days a week is probably good enough on fasting, like taking your weekends off or whatever. And again, you're not going to go crazy. And all this means is having a good, stable breakfast in place, something that would be balancing, like a protein with your carb, with your fat. All those together are going to stabilize your blood sugar, give you energy, keep you stable. Okay. But a really fun thing is having a refeed day. So this is not a super binge day, although if you guys look into it, people like The Rock, if you've ever seen him, a lot of these like extreme weight people, or you know what I mean, like the extreme athletes, they will literally do 6 days a week of hardcore dieting, one binge day. It's not just for their sanity. What they're doing is that that 7th day is making sure they don't wreck their metabolism. That 7th day is what gets their bodies out of diet mode, because their body is start thinking by this about 6th day, it's like, are we starving? Do I need to start, saving some of this? Like, what's happening? And then you binge, which this is not totally what I do. I'm not doing like The Rock will literally eat like 3 pizzas in a setting, which is kind of wild, but not really what you want to do. But what you want to do is have a really good day of eating the things that maybe you didn't eat during the week or things like that, right? You're resetting your metabolism so that you can start over. Great way to keep your metabolism from crashing if you're trying to lose weight or anything like that during the week, right? So if that's what your goal is with fasting, is to lose weight, make sure you're getting that day. If your goal is more healing first, like you just have an autoimmune disease or something like that, then you don't necessarily need to do that. Just make sure you're not starving yourself during the week, okay? Do not starve yourself. That's my biggest thing. Obviously, you don't eat too much, but I think what I love about fasting is that as you get into it, it's very intuitive, and that you'll eventually learn your body's cues and be able to tell what you need. If you need to eat more, if there's a day you wake up and I really should not fast today, don't fast, right? That's where we want to get you. But to start, you shouldn't be doing it every day anyways. Okay, and then the last tip was being patient. So this is not something that happens overnight. So just to recap, it was slowly moving your window. 2 and 3 was don't starve, but don't binge. Number 4 was doing that binge type day, right? After what I personally love to do, my husband does this too. We will do like 5 days and then our binge day, and then a 24-hour fast, and then restart, or a normal day, and then whatever. As you get into this, fasting is really incredible, and you can do 24 hours. As the clarity you feel after 24 hours is pretty awesome. You can start bumping it up, even doing a couple of days in there. You can reset your dopamine levels completely within just a couple of days of fasting. These are things you would work up to, but I'm just letting you know because they're really incredible, and you can heal your body very simply with fasting as you work your way up. But my point was be patient. So the last one was be patient and consistent, because that is where you're going to see miracles happen as your body. What do we tell everyone when they start Plexus anyways? Please, I tell people, don't even start unless you're giving me minimum 3 months. I will tell people, no, you're not signing under me until you're like ready, because I'm not going to waste my time or your time, or make the products look bad if you're not willing to give me minimum 3 months. Fasting is very similar. Okay, you've got to give it time, especially if you're working your window up, right? But eventually you will start to see clarity that you just never thought you even could have. You will have more energy. You will sleep more soundly. Your body will start healing crazy old things you didn't even know you were capable of healing, because again, now that it's not digesting all the time, it can move to other parts of your body and work where it needs to be, right? Last thing, there are certain people that maybe should not fast. Pregnant and nursing mamas. I am nursing, but I didn't do it right after baby. There's too big of a hormonal shift right there. So the couple of weeks right after baby, be very careful as you're losing all that progesterone right after you have a baby. It can really throw things off. So be very careful right after you have a baby when you're nursing. But however many months after, that's going to be different for everyone. Nothing is worth losing your supply over. Eating disorders, people with eating disorders, because they're used to maybe not eating ever, right? Intermittent fasting, not that someone with an eating disorder can never do it, but I think you're going to get what I'm saying there. So also people that are in the middle of like a serious thyroid crisis, whether that be like severe hypothyroidism, Hashimoto's, or something like that, it could be incredible for you, because balancing your hormones and your insulin is important, right? But you're going to have to do it the right way. So take your time in doing that. I'm looking at my notes to make sure I didn't miss anything. I know that you guys are going to have, okay. The other question I get all the time. Okay, what's breaking your fast, right? Number one, slim can break your fast, but only make sure you're waiting 30 minutes before your meal. That's really my only thing. You're giving the product a chance to do what it's supposed to do. It was intended, it was created to be taken 30 minutes before a meal, right? So there's no need. Why would you want to take that in the middle of the morning, right? So there's no need to be drinking slim during your fasting window at all. A lot of people can do herbal teas with lemon or a stevia sweetened herbal tea or whatever. Here is the big thing. There's no black and white for me, because what I teach on more than anything is intuitive eating. That's what I try to teach you guys, and intuitive healing even, right? Like as you go along, I want you to learn your body, right? But here's something to be looking for. Whether it's doing black coffee or whether it's doing tea with stevia. If you are experiencing any sort of insulin response, that means no. Okay. So some people can have lemon in their water and can easily have a stevia. I know that you're not supposed to, you're not supposed to have an insulin response from stevia, but a lot of people still do, because that's how out of whack their insulin levels are. Just anything, brushing your teeth, chewing gum can cause insulin responses for some people. So a lot of times people don't have good results on fasting because they're still chewing gum or brushing their teeth, and I know that sounds crazy. Most people are fine with this, but there is that percentage of people that are not going to be okay with it, because again, their bodies are reacting to anything sweet in their mouth. So water that's pretty much all I do, just because that's how I feel best. during my fasting window, but anything else is up to you. I don't have big black or white rules on that because again, everyone is going to be different. I break my fast the days that I fast with my Slim collagen if I'm doing it, part of it active if I'm doing it, two of the kids Mega X two of the kids the drinks, the kids omega drinks. I love them. And they're a great way to get extra omegas in your diet. A scoop of vitamin C usually. So usually I break my fast with like a big, beautiful drink that is like, I look forward to every day, and it gives me time to be smart and like set my lunch up to eat 30 minutes later, right? Because I feel like sometimes that's people's problem too. They have waited and waited, and now they're shaky and they're crazy, and then they just want to go in the kitchen and inhale everything. So, something like that keeps me like, I look forward to it every day. I get the nutrition that I need, and then I'm able to make a good sound decision on my lunch or whatever. Most of the capsules are totally fine while in fasting. However, again, if you're really sensitive to caffeine, then those capsules might not. They might make you shaky. They might not make you feel good. So it's going to be a personal preference more than anything when it comes to what you can do during a fast. What constitutes a clean fast might be different for you than for me. So kind of learning that as you go. I think that's the most. Do you guys have questions? I can answer any questions, or if you're
That's awesome.
tired of hearing from me, then.
Oh, I think we could hear from you all night long.
Oh.
Yeah. I think one key point that you made that I think a lot of people miss when they're first coming into Plexus is about how important our insulin really is, and that master hormone, and how it does talk to everything. So once that gets out of whack, that's when we kind of get into some trouble with different things in our body, eh? And so we really want to keep that insulin level.
Yeah, and there might be a bit of a, there's a learning period of that even. So just, being present and being very aware. Sometimes this is very new for people in general. We're used to being told what to do. We're used to being told, take this at this time and this and this. And that's why I'm very hesitant when people ask questions. Well, but can I always know those kind of people. And you probably all know, watching me, if you're one of them, they're like, but can I have this before my fast? Or can I have this during my, and I'm like, hang on. I don't know. Can you start to learn this? You'll start to feel, and people will say, oh, I don't know if I'm responding to my tea in the morning. I don't know if I'm responding to whatever. I'm like, give it a minute. You will learn. Fasting is one of the most incredible ways to get in tune with your body. So, and to be able to, create, use food for what it was intended for, which is, of course, yes, food for fuel. We've always said that, but come on, get real. Food is so much more than just fuel. Food should bring joy to you and your family. Sitting around a table with your family, this is important. So we have so many people with eating disorders, and you guys, part of that, which is why I don't think I told you guys enough, make sure you're drinking your water. That is so, so, so important. Both your thirst sensor and your hunger sensor are right beside each other in your brain, right there. So what happens so often, because we are very dehydrated as a nation too, because our water is so nasty and we have so much, won't get into that. But what's going to happen over time is that both of those are going to start working again. Half the time you think you're hungry, you're just thirsty, because those are now crossed. You've eaten too much, and your levels are all out of whack. A lot of that also has to do with some of the stuff that we're eating. You really don't even know how good you can feel and how clear you can feel, because again, so much of the things that are in our brain even will balance when you give them a little bit of time to. They will all start waking up, and they'll start firing like they should. You'll start feeling actual hunger pains. I wonder if you actually sat and thought about it. When is the last time I was truly hungry? Hunger pains hungry. And it's very rare that many of us would be, right? So, and not just the blood sugar shaky thing, I'm talking about like hungry. So letting your body become hungry, we let our kids become hungry on purpose because it's very good for them to know that feeling, know what hunger is versus boredom, know what thirst is, right? But understanding what hunger is versus an insulin response and those kind of things, that's going to balance all of your levels are going to balance, and you're going to feel like a new person if you're patient and give it time.
Awesome. That's great. Okay, so Patricia's saying, what is happening if you're just not hungry for days at a time? Is that your body healing?
Well, is she eating? That definitely, I mean, what do you mean by that? Are you,
Patricia, what do you mean by that? Can you unmute and just...
Yeah, I'm like I'll eat, but it's like you just have very little appetite. That I always take it as I'm usually more thirsty those days. Yeah, I just don't want to eat. I can go hours and go, oh, I'm not hungry.
Are you intermittent fasting too, or is that just normal, your normal lifestyle?
I haven't started intermittent yet. I'm going to be, but I notice before I started slim and stuff like that, I would get the shakes all the time. Now it's like, okay, I'm overweight. I'm wondering, like, is my body just tapping into all that weight I have that I don't need the food, or what's going on with this? It might be more complicated than just a simple question.
You'll definitely keep balancing. Sometimes that is metabolism. If your metabolism is low, you might not be very hungry because your body is saying, don't eat, like you don't need to eat. We're kind of in starvation mode. You know what I mean? So as you start to balance and as you're balancing your hormones and as you're, feeding your body what it should be fed and you're getting your, your nutrition first. I'll tell you guys the way that I cheat or, we have indulgent days, birthdays, and that kind of thing. I always just make sure my nutritional needs are met first. So many people mess up when they indulge or they have a day like that. Because think about if you're going to eat something not ideal for your body, you at least need all of those antioxidants and nutrition and the things there to battle some of the things that, right? I mean, you just think about what's in our food in general. It's a lot of toxins and a lot of things that are attacking your body, too much sugar or whatever. So as long as you've equipped your body first, so that's what I'm thinking first for you. And same thing, instead of calories, making sure, okay, where are all my nutritional needs being met? And maybe there's something in there that needs to be woken up, right? And if you're addressing it all nutritionally, making sure you're getting that met, I wouldn't doubt if pretty soon your metabolism starts to wake up and you start to get hungry. I mean, it's nice to feel hungry. I'll tell you guys, when we switched Slims to the microbiome activated, when that formula change happened, it was wild because it totally revved up my metabolism, because it wasn't too long after that 5th C-section that this happened. I'd been on the products, year, a little over a year when that change happened. And my metabolism I just felt it. And then you do eat more. I mean, an athlete eats more, right? So as your metabolism goes up, your hunger will follow. So if it's all the time that you're hungry, those are kind of my tips. Hopefully that made sense.
Yeah, awesome. So Monique is saying, how many hours do you need to fast per day in order for the body to go into a healing mode?
Well, if you're talking like autophagy, like cancer killing cells and all of that, usually your eating window is only going to be 6 hours or so. That's usually what it is, 4 to 6 hours. However, some of our products are really incredible in that they help stimulate and create autophagy anyways. Several of our products are like that. So it's kind of a tricky question depending on, this is what I would say. Start slow, start wherever you're starting and then just work your way up to a shorter window, or after you've been for a couple of months on, whether it's an 8-hour eating window, throw in a 24-hour fast. These are things you can do not only to stimulate, weight loss, but to stimulate healing is throwing in, 24-hour fast in there. And then you'll see, I promise you, you will see after one of those, or if you move your window down and you give yourself, 4 or 5 days of a 6-hour window, you'll know by the next week, whoa, that like really revved things up. Again, the one thing I can't stress enough is, I'm sorry, I said water, but I mean also with water, get you some trace minerals to put in your water, because so often that's it. Listen, if you are drinking water, and you have no trace minerals, like let's say you have an RO system like reverse osmosis, well, it's getting all the junk out of your water and all the nasty toxins. But if you're already deplete in trace minerals, all of that water is going to do is flush the rest of them out, and you might end up worse. So it's extremely important that you're getting your trace minerals. That's why we say even, your pinky in some Himalayan salt on your tongue a few times a day. That will get you some minerals. So water, minerals, but not water if you're not doing minerals. Does that make sense? So don't drink a ton of water if you're not doing the minerals.
So by trace minerals, you mean things like putting lemon in there, some cucumber, things like that?
No, so I would actually go purchase like some drops of trace minerals.
Oh, okay.
Or the salt, the like sea salt, that has a lot of trace minerals. And there's a trace mineral drink you can do, with lemon, honey, and salt or baking soda. But you couldn't do those during your fasting window. During your fasting window, I love just the trace mineral drops, or the salt. If you already have the salt in your house, obviously this would have to be like sea salt, pink Himalayan salt, or you can alternate. Those are so crucial though. So crucial. If you are not sleeping because you're fasting, you are deplete on your minerals. Okay. So if you just remember that probably should be like number 6 on that list.
And I was saying
I just had to throw that up before I hopped on. So
yeah, that's a great.
Just remember, because a lot of people will have that, a little bit of insomnia when they start or something like that. And that's the reason, it is those trace minerals.
Okay, that's a great point. Awesome. Okay, we'll take one more question. Can you speak to how to handle this for insulin-dependent diabetics or diabetics on oral medications?
Yeah, so, type 1 diabetes is a totally different subject. So, I'm not even sure they would ever be able to do any sort of fasting. I mean, I have seen people heal from type 1 diabetes, but that's a totally different, that's completely separate from anything that we're talking about today. Type 2 diabetics can absolutely heal themselves within a couple of weeks, completely get off all of their insulin, if they were to fast properly. So, I would always tell anyone with any sort of health issue to, get some help. And I'll say above anything, yes, get help, but also know you do have the wisdom within that you are allowed to tap into at any time. That we are not always told that, but we do have that. So, I definitely encourage all of you to start listening to your spirit and your inner voice, whatever you want to say. But we have infinite wisdom that we are connected to at all times. So start doing that, start listening. The more you listen to that, the louder that voice gets as well. So, and those answers will be revealed to you as you do that.
I love that. Absolutely love that. Okay, so Monique just put in a thing that I'll just kind of go back to that too, but the minerals. Is there enough minerals in our X factor? And if there is, can we take that during our fasting window?
No, there are definitely great minerals in our X factor. This is the thing. This is like, in general, we are completely deficient in minerals. Our water is so terrible that if you're even drinking city water, please be filtering it, because you have pharmaceuticals and fluoride and all kinds of things in there already. So you have to get it filtered. So water is just so important. And then, our soil is so depleted that you're getting an incredible dose in our X factor. But if you are going to be fasting, I would absolutely say you're going to need more. If you're nursing, if you had a baby in the past 10 years, if you've had a baby, the postnatal depletion is so real in moms, so real. It's important for me. I mean, I've had 7 and I'm still nursing, and, you know, I tandem nurse some, pregnant nursing. If you are not doing some sort of trace minerals, I mean, they're going to leach your nutrients from your bones. This is why women don't feel good. Between that and having some good fats, you know, in your diet for a woman, there are few things that can be as crucial when pregnant, nursing, or after having a baby. So, yeah, no, I don't feel like X-Factor Plus would be enough.
Right. Okay. That's awesome. Well, what I'm taking away from this is our bodies are absolutely incredible, incredible machines. And we can do so much when we give it so much goodness, and partnering that with Plexus and our what we eat and how we eat is just, I think this gives us a lot to think about. I think the topic could go on and on, though. It's something that's a very broad subject. So this kind of just wets your whistle a little bit, just to kind of dig a little deeper. What is your blog, Ricky, again? And we'll get them to know that.
Yeah. So it's Rebel Ricky, REBEL, Ricky, RIKKI, just rebelricky.com.
Okay, that's awesome. Because Ricky does do some really great topics. So, and search her on Facebook, follow her, and thank you so much. I so appreciate
you're so
it.
welcome.
I know
have
everybody
an awesome
else.
night.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you. You guys can all unmute and just say thank you, and we'll say goodnight too. So have a great, great week.
Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks
you.
a lot, Ricky.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
everybody.
Ricky.
Yeah, you're
Bye.
so welcome.
Have a
Bye.
great
So
night,
much.
everybody.
Appreciate it.